Welcome to the Arsenal show. We are live and it's an Arsenal transfer special. Make sure you get in the comment section and get your questions in for any of the Arsenal transfer news that you've seen about. We can give it the okay, certified, or we can say it's absolutely rubbish. I'm joined by Steve K. How you doing, Steve?
Yeah, how you doing, mate? It's good to be back on the Arsenal show. Seems like it's start of the new season, doesn't it? It seems like it's getting close to now. It's like it's a month away. It's getting exciting there.
Well, we've got plenty to talk about today. We've got the Arsenal transfer news, links and rumours. We've got players staying or going. We've got the latest on that. There's some transfer news, which is a little bit out of the blue as well. So let's start going through it. One of the early ones that one that I wanted to touch on was a little bit of an update on Riccardo Calafiori, the Italian defender linked with Arsenal. Arsenal put in a bid accepted, I believe, and it was just about the structure of the deal. Calafiori looked one of very few players in the Italian squad that actually had a good tournament and stood out from the crowd. Steve, what's your latest on Riccardo Calafiori?
Yeah, I mean, there seems to be a lot of panic, amongst Arsenal fans at the moment, especially on the social media sites. A lot of people saying that there's doubt, with the deal. I mean, there's all I can say from what I'm hearing is that there's not a lot of gap between the two. Do you know what I mean? It's not something that can't be resolved. I've seen people saying that it could be in doubt, but they're just small pieces of things that have to be finalised. And as far as I know, this deal will get over the line. As I said, it's not like you've got like a 10-20 million price gap. You're talking 5 million. You're talking about just a small sort of disagreement regarding the amount of time that it's going to be paid. So there's a lot of panic. I've seen the panics on social media, but Arsenal tend to make these last out a little bit. They tend to take things down to the final details. They like to get things right, and this is why this is just taking so long. And Bologna, to be fair to them, they've got to stick to their guns and what they want. Half of this fee's got to be paid to Basel.
Yeah,
is it Basel? Yeah. So these things have to be sorted out. Not only with Arsenal and Bologna, but you've got Basel as well, who has to be in on the sort of not so much in with the negotiations, but they've got to be involved with the paperwork and so forth and such. And when in a normal transfer, this doesn't happen. You don't normally get a third party that's involved, but in this case, you do have a third party. So for me, I'm not hearing any worries. I'm not feeling there's any panic. Calafiori's out there on holiday at the moment, and look, this is saying I'm expecting to be done, maybe in the next week or two. Certainly before they fly out to America for their first game against Bournemouth on July the 24th, 25th, something like that. So, no panic. That's all I can say at the minute.
What do you say to the people that are panicking about the Calafiori deals and any of the other deals that generally take a bit longer? I know people worry and try to make comparisons with other deals that are out there, and they're complaining as to why Arsenal can't get this deal done in 2 weeks. Some calling for Edu's head once again. It seems to be the running theme every transfer season. Starts off people calling for Edu's head. By the end of it, they're standing there with cigars by a barbecue, singing his praises.
Yeah.
What do you think that is? I know there's impatient people, but what do you say to those ones?
Well, I mean, just don't be so impatient. I mean, these things do take times. I mean, people seem to be panicking he was out there on the Euros. He can't. Italy got knocked out, and then I think a week after, people going even messaging me and saying, what's going on? Why isn't it over the line yet? And I'm sort of trying to explain to him, well, he was just playing in the Euros a week ago, and most of you had never heard of him. So why would you expect it to be done now? And it's exactly what I said. These things ain't, they're not, ain't going to be done, overnight. It's a transfer that's abroad anyway. So there's a lot of things. He's on holiday. He needs to come back from holiday. He's been playing in the Euros. How Arsenal do things. They like to, when they announce it, they always like the player to be in the country. They always like straight away. They will. They'll announce it and they'll do the video and things like this. So all these little things have to be done. And I said, that the main reason is that you've got a third party involved in this as well, who's got to be taken into the consideration. Yeah. So that's the big thing. But like I said, there's not a big price gap here. It's not like, we know they want 50 million euros. It's not like Arsenal have gone in with 35 and they've two in and throw in. Arsenal gone in heavy. Do you know what I mean? They want the player. The player wants Arsenal. Bologna are happy to sell the player to Arsenal. Mm-hmm. There's no other club involved. There's no Chelsea. There's no Man United. There's no PSG. Involved. It's just an Arsenal, Bologna, Basel thing. And just look, these things take time, and especially when it's a player from abroad and he's just come back from the Euros. And for all I know, I'm not even 100% sure, but he may even be still on holiday. So give it a week or two. Don't panic, and I'm sure, as I said, I'm not hearing anything that this won't get over the line.
Yeah, Simon says he's on holiday. I don't understand why Arsenal fan base is panicking. Just wait until he comes back. Thomas is the perfect example. Yeah, I think people just want to see signings, don't they? So there's that certain level of unrest in the Arsenal fan base.
Nobody's making signings at the moment. Not really. Do you know what I mean?
Liverpool coming back from the Euros as well, aren't they? And the Copa America.
No, yeah, exactly, mate. It's very quiet. My end, do you know what I mean? It's like you're hunting, you're talking, but there's nothing really going on. Man United have got Zirkzee over the line. And apart from that, nobody's really done anything else. Arsenal have not brought anybody in. Liverpool haven't, Man City haven't, Chelsea have got their, annual 16-year-old, but apart from that, haven't done much else. Newcastle haven't brought anybody. Tottenham haven't. Nobody's done nothing. So nobody else has done anything, and neither of Arsenal. It's a situation where a lot of the players have now been given a break, from coming back from the Euros. The ones that have, been out there. So what you're going to find is that when you get August to September, that month is going to absolutely go mental. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I think even this next week or two, you'll probably find it's still even a bit quiet then.
Okay. And just on Calafiori, where is it likely that they're looking for him to play his best position as a centre back?
Well, most people I speak to seem to think that his best position is in the centre back position. So. Look, this one's going to be interesting. We know that he's been looking for a left back. Due this window, Arteta. He's been vocal, in saying so. And some of the top transfer people have blatantly come out and said that Arsenal are looking for a left back. So you would assume that this guy is going to be playing in the left back position, but. We know how Arsenal play. We know how they like to, set up. We know that they like to swap and change during the game. So he wants someone who is a left back stroke centre back who can do that job when Arsenal sort of go into that three at the back at times. So, or when if White goes forward and they'll move in, he'll move in with Gabriel and Saliba to make the three. But there's a lot of questions. Arteta, I'm sure, has got it all worked out, and he said we don't know what's going to happen with Jury and Timber. You know, we've always assumed that he's going to be left back. Where's he going to play? You know, that's another question. If he's been, you know, all the signs is saying left back Calafiori, you know, that's what we all think. But then again, we all thought Timber was going to be the left back. So, you know, what do we do now? We look at Timber. You know, we look at where's he going to go? Is he going over to the right? Is Ben White's position up for grabs? You know, what is exactly going on? I mean, there's been a few. We know at the start of the season that, you know, Gabriel was dropped for some reason. Is there something going on there? Was his head turned? There's people saying his head was turned at the beginning of the season because there was a bid from the Saudis, and for some reason Gabriel was dropped. We still don't know the full reason why that is. I mean, is he bringing it in for Gabriel? Do you know what I mean? There's nothing really that it's interesting, isn't it? Because wherever you put him, or is he just coming in as a backup to everything? You know, who knows? What do you think? What do you think? Where do you think?
I'm baffled by any links to any centre backs whenever they come up, because we had the best defence in the league last season. I don't understand what the need is for another centre back when we've got a lot of cover in that position. The left back position potentially is a position that we need to sort of fix up. But is Yuri and Tim going to be playing now, or is he going to be playing on the right? It just these defensive sort of acquisitions kind of leave me guessing, because it's not a position I feel that is priority, but it seems to be whatever position is priority, we go at the opposite end of the pitch. But we'll see come the new season.
Yeah. When you're paying £50 million out for someone, you assume he's going to start, don't you?
Yeah, you assume, but how much did we pay for Yuri and Timber? How much was Ben White? I mean, it's a tough one. It's a tough one because our two current centre backs right now cost about 25 mil each. So it is a tough one. It's hard to understand. And when it comes to where Arsenal are now, the factor of like the fees, I mean, I think that's the level we've got to be shopping at now. Unless you're buying a youngster, buying anyone under the range of, let's say, 35 to 40 mil, what are you getting? I feel like you're getting that player that's not quite there, but could be. I don't know. Like, it's a tough one. It's what's Charles saying? Charles says, I think Calafiori moves is strange. Kirio is good. Also, Tomiyasu, all similar. That's my trade of thought. But look, as we know, Mikel Arteta is a genius. He does his own thing, doesn't he? So,
yeah. I mean, it ain't a bad thing. Do you know what I mean?
It's not a bad thing. Having strength in depth. When you look at
great problem.
When you look at someone like Man City and you look at the depth that they have, the rotations, the levels that they need to keep that competitiveness at, playing in Europe, it shows that they need it. When you've got players like Nathan Ake, who every season it seems like there's links for him to go everywhere and different teams because he's not getting enough game time, and then by the end of the season he's probably won the players of the season in their team because he's just consistently good. Look, it's for me it's a guessing game until the season. All right, next up on the list of players. This is one that we've already spoken about. He's joined Man United, but Joshua Zirkzee, Steve, were there ever really any solid links? I know you was always saying that Arsenal aren't interested in him, but there's reports out there that said he was. What was the case with that?
Look, I've I think the last season and possibly at the beginning of this, I do know that Arsenal had scouts looking at him. Yeah, I know that's for sure. But as far as I know, that's as far as it's ever gone. And I've spoken to, some put it this way, people that would know.
Yeah.
And they've told me that as far as they're aware, Arsenal have never sort of really been in for Joshua Zirkzee ever.
Okay.
So yeah. And as I said, like, I write a lot of articles on Arsenal, and you can go and have a look. Someone that I've never ever wrote an article about is Joshua Zirkzee, because to me, I've just never ever got any solid information from the people I speak to that are close to the club that we was ever really interested in him. So therefore, I just never went with it like others. I see the reports. I see some good top transfer journalists, mention Arsenal, but I was still told that we wasn't that interested. We wasn't interested, but we had scouts looking. So yeah, and then it's turned out that way.
Yeah,
because I think now, I mean, it's like even when he signed, there's never been really anything about Arsenal in the latter stages, or that we try to hijack it or anything. So for me, my information that I got from my people, my sources were correct.
Was solid.
Yeah.
Next up on the list, and a player. It may have sort of died down after the news of Thomas Partey staying for another season, which we'll get onto in a bit. But Zubimendi came on for Spain for Rodri. You thought there may have been a slight weakness potentially with Rodri coming off and Zubimendi coming on, but Zubimendi impressed me so much. A bit like Ruiz, he was absolutely dictating play. He hit the ground running. It was a smooth transition, and I actually think it probably enhanced Spain a little bit by bringing on someone who's a bit more mobile and a bit more expansive with his passing. What's the latest on Zubimendi? I know he looked like he was going to sign a new contract, was it? But what's the latest on him?
Well, yeah, I mean, Arteta's been a big fan of this guy for going back last year. I mean, their Arsenal they sort of came close to doing the release clause last year. They was willing to pay the release clause last year, but Zubimendi turned around and said, look, he wanted to stay at Sociedad, so that was basically the end of that. So, and again, Arsenal have never gone away. They've always been interested into him. They've spoken to his representatives this summer. But unfortunately, it seems to be that Arsenal have now got the same answer as what they got last summer, which is that he doesn't want to leave Real Sociedad, and which I find a little bit strange. Looking at him, I mean, I really rate the player. I mean, Sociedad's a good club, don't get me wrong, but I think he's really at 25. I think he could really go up a level. As he said, when he come on against England, he was just, I think people that didn't know him, would have been really impressed. But it looks like this one sadly is going to be one that's gone out the window, just due to the fact that, as I say, he doesn't want to leave, and he's come out and been quoted that. But it seems like he's a homeboy. It does, it seems like he's a homeboy, but. There was a chance, he did mention in January that, he'd make his mind up at the end of the season. So hence why Arsenal did have some more conversations, So, but he's decided to stay. He decided to stay at home. But, but that release clause, I mean, for people who say, why don't you do it? I mean, why don't they just trigger it? Why don't they just pay it? Well, there's a law in Spain, for people who don't know that, every player in Spain has to have a release clause. It's Spanish law that everybody has to have a release clause. So it's a little bit, and it works a little bit different than it does anywhere else. So, but
I don't understand that sentiment in terms of people saying he's got a release clause. Why not just play it when he's just out and out said he wants to stay at the club? It's not like you can force him to move. You can't force him to sign a contract. All he's doing with the release clause is releasing his contract from the club. If he wants to stay, you can't force a player to go, and you don't want a player that doesn't. In my eyes, if a player, I see it as a bit of a red flag. We've had it previously before. Reyes, although I think he had a good time at Arsenal. We've seen it at Manchester City with Jesus Navas. There's certain places in and around Europe where players are very homely. Munich,
Yeah.
when you've got the Bavarian players. Sevilla seems to be a place which players it's very homely. So I'm not sure you want to force a player to leave. Like, if you want the player to want to come, it's a bit, for me, it's a bit of a red flag if they really don't want to leave home and they talk about being homesick and this and that. Look, just leave him there.
I think it's a bit. I think 100%. But I think it's a bit different because when you've got a release clause on someone's contract in like any other country apart from Spain and Portugal, right? Then you can sort of think, okay, because
they've put that in there.
Because exactly.
Yeah,
they've put that written in there for a reason.
Yeah.
For instance, this we'll talk about it more later. But Eze, he's asked for that to be put in. Do you know what I mean? So when that comes up, he obviously wants to at some point. If a big offer comes in for him, he'd be like, I want to go as my release clause. Where in Spain, they have to have it.
Yeah.
So it's different. Do you know what I mean? We can't really look at it that way.
Yeah.
But you're spot on, mate, with what you said. But as I say, you have to look at the release clause differently in like the Spanish, Portugal countries because, as I say, the law's slightly different and it works in a different way than what it does over here in Germany, for instance, or anywhere else.
If you are new to the show, press that like and subscribe button. I really appreciate it. If you are a regular, hit that like button and hit that control button, that copy button. It really helps with the algorithm. As you're speaking about Eze, another player that we're linked with, just come back from England, the Euros, but got to the final. I'm sure he had a good experience while he was out there, even though he didn't get much game time at all. But it's all the experience, which is definitely going to help him. What's the latest on this one?
Yeah, look, I mean, another player that Arsenal like a lot. He obviously, for people who don't know, Arsenal let him go. I don't know what age he was, but when he was a young boy.
Yeah, when he was youth, when he went to Millwall, I think, or trials at Millwall, didn't get a contract there either.
Yeah. Apparently, he was absolutely in tears when he left. So, which was a great shame. So, but they like him. I mean, there's no surprise there. And with a player visibility and the fact that we need someone who can play left, right, and or anywhere across that front line, and someone who's really good at working back and especially defending as well, which he always helps with what Arteta likes in a player. What he wants players to do on the pitch, and this guy's got it all. He's got everything. So, but again, we're not the only people looking for him. He's got a £60 million release clause, which is a lot of money.
Tottenham also looking at him.
Tottenham looking at him. And I mean, from what I'm hearing, Tottenham are probably ahead of Arsenal in signing him. From what I'm hearing, they're more likely to trigger the release clause more than what we are at the moment. So, I've been told that there's talks, crunch talks, crucial talks with Eze arranged for this week. Yes, he is. Like people have told me, he's away though, isn't he? He's got a break. Well, it's a big world these days. There's Zoom calls and stuff, and that's how they talk to players abroad. When the transfer is done. So, just because they're away doesn't mean that they can't have talks. So that's meant to be happening this week because Crystal Palace just need to start, sorting out their business. So. I got a funny feeling he'll leave. I think Crystal Palace are looking around already. Again, we'll be talking about a little bit later that they may be looking at one of our players. So it speaks volumes that Eze's on his way because of the type of player that we already know they're looking at. So,
we'll get on to that in a second. But I wanted to talk about the latest link with Joshua Kimmich, a player who's reported to want to move back into the midfield position for Bayern Munich. Is that the reason why Arsenal are potentially linked with a move for German international Kimmich?
Yeah, I mean, look, this is a strong link. Arsenal are looking for someone who can again play as on the right hand side, who can also be a midfielder. And as you already mentioned, Kimmich is also someone who can do both. But ideally, he wants to be playing in the midfield. I think he's 28 now, so still relatively young. And what I'm hearing lately is that Arsenal are looking for someone of that age, to play in that area of the pitch. So yeah, look, I mean, he obviously he won't cost that amount of money. He's due also to have talks with Bayern, but yeah, I mean, he had a really good Euros, Kimmich. Yeah. So, but definitely someone who would, suit Arsenal. Maybe to play in that 6 role with Declan Rice in the 8 and then Martin Odegaard. It's a little bit mouth-watering, isn't it? When you think of what that midfield could be next season, and you could get him at relative good price. So yeah, we'll again like a few of the other ones. We just have to wait to keep an eye on it. But I'm starting to hear that Arsenal have been starting to look at a few players 27, 28 years old.
Yeah, that kind of leads into the next one I was going to talk about. Mikel Merino, 28-year-old Spanish international at Sociedad. Again, came on a few times in the Euros to shore things up. Arsenal with some strong links to him as well. Yeah,
you can see the sort of like the pattern here, can't you? The players that Arsenal are interested in. You look at Kimmich, you look at his age. You're looking at Merino. You're looking at his age. We all know that Arsenal are interested in Merino. It's no secret. I think he's the release clause is quite. I think we could get him for about 22 million euro. Is what I'm hearing. Mourinho, someone who's unlike Zubimendi, because they play for the same club. Yeah, is willing to leave. Don't know too much about Merino regarding his ability. Certainly looked. He came on for Spain in the Euros, and he looked pretty decent. He scored the winning goal for him against Germany. But I don't know. I think he's more of an 8 than a 6. I think he's more of a forward attacking. So what that will mean for what Rice will do, whether they'll sort of rotate or whatever during the game, I don't know. But yeah, certainly one that Arsenal are very interested in. Talks have gone on between representatives. So it seems that they're going back and forth now, and they're starting to sort of get their top candidates, and hopefully they'll come to a conclusion which one they'll pick. It'll be interesting to see Kimmich or Merino. But as you said, there seems to be a little bit of a pattern occurring here, especially when you look at both people's ages, and there's also another one of similar age. So who Arsenal starting to be like I've heard today. So yeah, it's he's one.
Who was that you've heard today?
Well, it's very, very, very sort of you've got his picture up there.
Leroy Sané.
That's Leroy Sané.
Yeah, no, I was just about to go on to that. Leroy Sané, a different position, but a position that's probably needs a bit more cover on the flanks. Yeah, Leroy Sané being linked as well.
Yeah, very early days on this one. He's a player that's been, that people have mentioned, throughout this window, throughout last window, but again, never had really any sort of anybody of any note say anything to me regarding. So as I say, I've always sort of been sceptical, but it was only today that I'd heard that Arsenal was really looking at him, for as an option for that player to play up on that front side. Again, we had the conversation of, looking at, the age of the player. I think he's about 27, 28, I think, isn't he? Look, Sané. If I'm right.
28.
Yeah. So again, it works into the you know, the same age group of what I've been told recently, that Arsenal will be looking for someone like similar to like your Jorginho signing and your Trossard signing. It looks like it seems to me that Arsenal's top signings that they wanted may be ungettable. You know, we try to get we try to get Sesko and Goalkeepers, and you know that the release clause, there's a Sporting will not come down on the release clause on Goalkeepers. Sesko obviously decided that he wanted first team football, which was a weird choice for me, but you know, there you go. Ramirez, you know, the release clause went out of date, and now it's a matter of, you know, Newcastle can turn around and say, I want 120 million now. So it seems like the first choices for Arsenal maybe sort of slowly dwindling down. So hence the sort of the new information that I'm getting, that now they're starting to look at a different type of age group, like your Trossard, like your Jorginho sign that we brought in last January, and hence why all the information that's sort of coming in of the Kimmiches and the Merinos and the Sanes, you know, again, pattern developing here. I feel that's what you're going to see. I feel that's a new way of looking. It wasn't the way Arsenal were looking at things at the beginning of the window. You know, you know, they wanted the Gamiras, and they wanted the Gurkis, and they wanted Zubimendi, but these ones just sort of all of a sudden now just deciding they want to stay at their clubs and do other things. But so big reasons to keep your eye out on the three players that we've just mentioned there.
Yeah, no, definitely. Another player that has been linked, which may excite some Arsenal fans, is Nico Williams. An excellent Euros, probably one of the players of the tournament. Absolutely electrifying, just pace, intelligence, guile, craft. He was just absolutely quality, and he can finish as well. What's the latest on this? Because I know that with Bilbao only bringing in players from Basque Country, they tend to play their players pretty well, which then keeps them at the club. What's the latest on Nico Williams?
Well, that's the plan. You know, that's the number one plan, obviously, for Bilbao, and that's to keep their player. And Nico Williams, you know, all the sort of all the noise that he's been making, it sort of tells you that he may stay there. He's definitely seems to be happy there in Spain. But it seems now that his main suitors are Barcelona. They look at him as their challenge to Real Madrid after they've just bought Mbappe. You know, Madrid have got Mbappe now. Their guy is Williams, and they're going to go all out to try and get this guy.
It's hard to get a player from Spain when they've just won a tournament. And we saw it with Cesc Fabregas and a lot of players that were playing in different countries that wanted to sort of be a part of that once they'd won a tournament. And I see it as a hard task to try and get the likes of the Zubimendis, the Merinos, the Williams, especially when other clubs in Spain want them as well. I think Merino's been the latest link with him is Barcelona as well. And when you've got a 20 million release clause, that's not much for Barcelona, even with their appalling finances. But yeah, it's always going to be a hard task getting Nico Williams. But I mean, it's always worth a try as well.
Yeah. You feel that because of the links to other players that are all of a sudden starting to come to the head, that, you know, Arsenal probably know that maybe the Nico Williams one's out. But look, I wouldn't put this one totally out of question. This one's not totally dead. But I feel that Arsenal, from what I'm hearing, is that, you know, they're looking at other areas, but they're always going to look at other options, no matter what's going on, because at any one time, even a signing that can be 80% nailed on can you know, go up to Swanee in a matter of like days. Do you know what I mean? So they've always got to have targets, and it seems to me that Sane seems to be coming to the fore now as one of those.
Yep. Another player we've been linked with probably for the last 5-6 seasons, Pedro Neto.
Yeah.
It actually went out to the Euros with Portugal. My main concern for him is his injury record. He's had some really bad injuries, knee injuries, which kept him out the majority of seasons. But he's had enough of a run to get a call up to the Portuguese squad and get some game time, and actually played well in that game as well. What's the latest on Pedro Neto?
Well, there's always been a lot of noise about Pedro Neto, hasn't there, and Arsenal. We it's not, I won't be telling Arsenal fans anything they don't know. Due to that Arteta's a massive fan of him. He absolutely loves Pedro Neto, but obviously there is a problem with his injuries. It's gone very quiet at the moment with Pedro Neto, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Part of me makes that think that there might be something going on. I know for a fact that Arsenal were asked, we're looking at his data, his injury data analysis, and they was all sort of going through his paper, everything really with a fine tooth comb. And to see whether they should make a bid for him or not. Wolves fans seem to think that that meant that he was going to have a medical to see if he was all right, which was quite funny. But
you have a medical first before you sign anything.
Yeah. I was like, I can't look at some of the comments. I was like, oh, have you read the article? No. I said, yeah, well, you read it. And it's not what it says. Yeah. They thought that we was going to go over to Wolves, test him out in the medical, and then go, "Nah, you're all right. Don't worry about it."
It's not how it works, mate. It's not how it works.
But they thought that's what Arsenal were going to do. A disgraceful club. Disgrace they are, wanting to do things like who they think they are. Arsenal, big boys. But look, I'll be absolutely astounded if he's at Wolves this season. I'll be absolutely shocked. I'm 100. I've been not 100, but I'm 85% sure this guy's going to move on. And look, if you're talking 40 million now. I mean, we was talking 80 million last year. It's all of a sudden his prices are after 40 million. I personally, I think this is one. If you feel that his injuries are, you've gone over it with a fine tooth comb and you've decided that okay, we think he's going to be fine. Because at the end of the day, he's got to have a medical anyway. That once you do sign, you can always say he didn't pass.
Yeah, he doesn't pass the medical. Yeah.
For me, this is the guy. When you look at the price of Neto, when you look at the fact that what we know about him, when you look at the fact that he's Premier League proven and he's probably ripped up every single Premier League defender in the league at some point, this guy seems to be like the guy. Do you know what I mean? Because you're never too sure about players abroad, whether they're going to come here and do it. Maybe Sane's a different case in question because he's been here before. But yeah, this is one I'd keep. I'd really, wouldn't put totally dead. Just due to the fact that I know they're still talking at Arsenal. I know that they're looking deep into his injury record. So yeah. I like him. I like that. I'd love to see him at Arsenal. And like I said, I don't think people are watching. I think there's still a possibility of this come. As I said, it's very quiet. But for some reason, sometimes you get feelings about things when you're working in the transfer game, and it doesn't seem a bad quiet. We'll see. Maybe it's this fact that I don't do just Arsenal, do I? So it may be that he goes somewhere else, but yeah, I like Neto. What do you think? Do you like him here?
Yeah, he's a good player. I just worry about his injury record. Yeah, look, if he was fit enough to go to the Euros, there was nothing that sparked any sort of worry there with regards to an injury, no niggles or anything like that. I as you said, if they're going through his injury record with a fine tooth comb and seeing that, okay, you can put down to this, you can put down to this, but if we're seeing a recurrence of an injury on that knee, that would worry me. As long as they know what they're doing, I don't think they'd sign. Hopefully, we've gone past the days where we're signing people with broken backs and and dodgy knees.
I don't want another Timber.
Yeah, I don't want Timber to land and then be injured. But again, like even recently, we had Fabio Vieira who came to us and joined injured. It's never a great start when you join the club injured. It's always a bit of a tough one. Another position that Arsenal are potentially looking at is a centre forward position. Any strong links to any centre forwards out there?
No, mate. To really put it into words, it seems to me that recently they've come away from it. Mm-hmm. But Arsenal, don't you? Do you know what I mean? It's not to say that they're not working on something behind the scenes. They can come out with something that that was unexpected. Arsenal have done that a lot in the past especially with players like Jorginho and Trossard and Fabio Vieira. Do you know what I mean? They were just like all of a sudden bosh, and even Timber. It was like they was never looked upon that Arsenal were in for him. So it's not to say they're not interested, but it seemed that a lot of the centre forwards are available. You got Isaac, Newcastle, ridiculous price they want from him. Osimhen, I don't really think Arsenal have ever been really interested in Osimhen. Tony, again, similar. Arsenal really never been interested in Tony.
Joining PSG, doesn't it?
Who's that, mate?
Victor Osimhen.
Yeah, I mean they've got the money, so they would do. Do you know what I mean? There's a chance. That's a good. If he's linked to them, he could very well join them. But again, I think Sesko, the reason why he came up, it was a good price. It made sense. It was value for money. Mm-hmm. Because of the release clause and etc. and age and stuff, and that's why the Arsenal went for him. But it looks like he obviously changed. He decided that he wanted to stay. Yeah, at Leipzig. So no matter how much interest, how many talks you have with representatives, Arsenal sort of respected his decision to wait. He made a decision after the Euros, and he made his decisions to stay. But I think the reason why now, I think it's dwindling because there's literally really all the forwards that they was sort of watching and stuff, they're dear, Gorikis, like they're still asking 100 million for him and 80 millions and stuff. So, and it seems that Arsenal now have gone on sort of a little bit into a different direction where they're more looking at someone to spend their money maybe on the midfield or on the wings or something like that. I think like, when as we talk here, I think the chance, a lot of the big, as I've already said, the big money people like signings of players, they're sort of like starting to dwindle away. Hence why the smaller price players are sort of now being looked at. But like I said, at the moment, mate, there's not really anybody. There was a small rumour about Jonathan David, but there's nothing really I can say about that at the moment. I've not really looked into it enough. It seems to me like the big names sort of now sort of ungettable, or they just literally don't want them.
Yeah. All right. Now on to more internal news. Leandro Trossard could potentially be getting a new deal at Arsenal.
Yeah. This was agreed with actually when he first signed, because there was a little bit of a disagreement regarding his contract when he signed for Arsenal. He wanted more than what he was given, and there was something written into his contract that they would talk again at Christmas coming up. Yeah. So in a few months' time, to extend his contract. And it looks like Trossard, a few people mentioned him that we should leave, we should get rid of him, get the money while we can. I personally don't agree with that, but from what I'm hearing, as I say, I think his contract runs out in 2026, so when if you want to keep a player and their contract runs out in a couple of years, say, then it's time to start talking about if you're going to extend him. So, and this is what happened with Trossard, and I think it's a great idea. I think it's someone who can, help us out for at least for the next 2-3 years.
Yeah, no, a big fan of Leandro Trossard. He's since he's come here, he's been made a massive impact on the team. Yeah, really, really, really good news for Arsenal fans out there. I know that there was a couple of Fulham fans out there. I think there's a Crystal Palace fan out there waiting for this news. What's the latest on Emil Smith Rowe? I know was there a bid rejected? What is the latest?
Yeah, Crystal Palace and Fulham have put in a bid. It's a bit of an unknown bid. All these people that are seeing these what I call guesstimates, on X. No, as far as no one's 100% sure what the bids were, but they was turned down in an instant. Mm-hmm. So I think Arsenal want 40 million for him.
Yeah.
But what Arsenal have done, they have left it up to Emil. They're not forcing him out the door, from what I've been told. So they will leave it up to him. But I think he has been told that there's his plans for his first team chances will be limited next season again. So yeah. But I think it's going to be it's going to be hard for him. It's going to be hard for Emil to to say that okay, I want to go. And it'll be a sad day when he leaves because he's a player that's loved by Arsenal fans. But if a 40 million bid comes in for him, then that's be too good for Arsenal to turn down. But as I said, from what I'm hearing, the ball will be in his court. Which it is anyway because he's still under contract. But it's still nice when the club always says to you, "It's up to you." They can still say, "Well, we'd rather you leave." Do you know what I mean? With you in contracts or not, and if they did say that, then it'd be difficult for you to stay, wouldn't it? With so, but yeah, it's. But we just were now. I mean, I've heard that Fulham are expected to come back in, for another bid. So we'll wait and see and see what happens there. Crystal Palace obviously interested, and I say was like we said earlier in the show. I expect Eze to move on, someone to trigger that release clause, whether it's Arsenal or Tottenham. And it seems that the fact that they want Emil Smith Rowe, for me, is a mirror image to Eze. It's the same player.
Yeah, I agree.
So the fact that Glasner has put his thumbs up to that they've had a bid put in tells me that they're looking. Eze is on his way.
You've seen what he's done with all those players since he's joined Crystal Palace. I think he'd get.
It's a good shout. Yeah,
I think he'd get the best out of Emil Smith Rowe. So if he does move to a club, you want to see him succeed, and Crystal Palace would be a great club to join. Another player who is from leaving the club to definitely staying at the club for at least another season, Fabio Vieira. For me, that's good news. I'm a fan of Fabio Vieira. I think he's one of those players that out of sight, out of mind, and because he's been injured, there was a large section of Arsenal fans that were talking about selling him, get rid of him. He's not done anything, and I think they forget that when Havertz first signed for Arsenal and Vieira was coming off the bench for Havertz, they were using Vieira as an example of how Havertz should be playing and getting assists and making chances and coming on and making a big difference. And then it was a few months down the line, everyone's singing Havertz praises and talking about Fabio Vieira leaving. So, what's the latest you've heard on the? I know you've done an article on it. Yeah,
I did an article yesterday. It was excited when I heard it, and I was quick to put it out there. I've been, I've always known Arteta is a big fan of Vieira. But from what I was told, Vieira's, excited for the new season. He's ready to go again next season. He's fit. He's getting strong. He's got no injury problems. He's back from injury now. And from what I know, Arteta's a massive fan of him. He loves him to pieces. He's always spoke highly of him. And and from what I've been told, he's a big part of Arteta and Arsenal's plans next season. Which, I can see why he thinks that. Do you know what I mean? He did. He had bad last season. He was injury plagued, weren't he?
Yeah.
Do you know? So we can't judge him on last season.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? We can't. And there was times last season when he did come on, I was like, well, do you know what I mean? You can see what he's doing here. And then he got injured. And I thought, that penalty he scored against Porto, nerves are still bosh.
Mm-hmm.
Little things like that. Like that. But I'm like you, Keys. I'm from what I've seen of him, the little bits of what I've seen of him, I'm a big, massive fan of him. And look, when he was at Portugal, this guy was this was the next big thing. He was the next big thing. Everyone was talking about him as the new whatever. Do you know what I mean? So, I'm glad we're keeping him. I do feel he's got a lot in his locker, and there's a lot more to come from him. So let's hope he gets his chance next season. And it seems that he's going to.
Yeah, no, it's good. I think at least the least we can do is actually see these players when they're injury free, they're full season. And from what I've seen, I really like the look of him. I think there's definitely, it's not even a case of there's a player in there. There's a player that could make a difference for Arsenal in there. Especially in the Champions League, I think. But he's very good at finding gaps in the defence, and he can score goals as well. No, I really like him. There's a lot of talk about his size and his slight, but then I look at players like David Silva and Phil Foden, and I think they're not big players, but
Bernardo Silva.
They're not big players. Not everyone's big.
He reminds me a bit of him, Bernardo Silva.
He's definitely got that Portuguese playmaker.
Yeah, sort of style about him, isn't he?
Yeah.
He'll go. Don't get me wrong, people. People will be, well, ain't no Bernardo Silva, is he? Yeah, as good as him. No, it's got the same style, and hopefully we'll one day.
Yeah, one day, hopefully. Another player will be staying for the foreseeable future is Thomas Partey. Many thought that he'd be off this summer, but the recent news is that he will be staying for at least another season. What was the latest you got on that one, Steve?
Yeah, just really that, mate. There is a little caveat to it. Do you know what I mean? He has got a year left on his contract. Let's get it right. When he's fit and he's on it, he's one of the top midfield players still in the world. On his day, fully fit Thomas Partey, then he's worth sort of keeping around, and he's got 1 year he left in his contract, so it doesn't make really any sense because you'd have to replace him. So it doesn't really make any sense to sell him. And on Thomas Partey's part, it doesn't really make any sense of him leaving either. As I say, just probably if anything, let him have this one season, like you said. And then maybe leave at the end of the next season when he's holding his winner's medal. So, but yeah, there's a bit of that. I dare say if like a bit of, but I don't think he wants to leave. Partey don't want to go.
Yeah.
We must emphasise that he doesn't want to leave Arsenal.
Mm-hmm.
You might think, well, what, $200,000 a week? Why is he going to want to leave? Because as soon as he leaves, he ain't getting that anywhere else, which is true. But don't look at him like that in a sort of bad way, because we'd all do the same. Do you know what I mean?
Saudi Arabia come knocking and I'm hitting. I'm like 31, 32. I'm like, I mean, what's that? over 400 grand a week, depending on what your name is. So
yeah.
there's money.
I think even if you got like 10, 15 games out of him, mate, it's worth keeping. It's worth keeping.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I still think we need like a proper number thing, But from what I'm hearing, he wants Arteta wants 4 midfield players for next season.
Okay.
So
if you want to win on all fronts, which is good news to me. Like I feel like we need to start making some decent cup runs as well as pushing for the league.
Yeah.
If we're going to be bringing in £50 million squad players, and we've got players like Yuri and Timber, Tomiyasu, Ben White, there's no reason why we can't have a real push for a cup competition as well as going for the league.
Well, when you think about it, when you think about it, you start with your 6 and your 8, and if you bring someone in, with
we play 3 in midfield as well.
And you've got Partey and Jorginho. If you get an injury, you've got to have someone on the bench to come on.
Yeah.
So if you haven't got 4, I was going to swear then, but you're
you are,
aren't you?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So
I get it. Plus, we can't forget that we lost Mohamed El Nene in the summer, and I know he didn't really play many games last season, but it's that option. You've always got that backup plan with the like Mohamed El Nene in the squad still. When you've lost him, where'd you go? You need option. You can't be going to players that are too young. You need that experience. We want to push further in the Champions League. We want to push on and in those other cups as well. And keeping players like this is vital for that.
And again, like if you kept Partey, Rice, and Jorginho, you still need one more.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So if you brought in a Kimmich or Merino or whatever for argument's sake, you're gonna need. I mean, what a couple of backups. As you already just said there. With Sol, who's gone, who's left? Someone's left, haven't they?
El Nene's left.
El Nene's left. Lukonga's now gone again. I know he wasn't here last year, but he's gone. Patino's moving on. It looks like Smith Rowe will probably move on.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's not rocket science. I mean, Trossard and Havertz never worked, did it, in that 8 last season, really?
Yeah.
So, when I was told 4, first thing I was thinking of was 4. What do we want 4? But then they went, but we need you get. And I went, of course, it makes sense.
You need different options as well.
Good quality options and all. Not
exactly. Now on to the goalkeepers. Aaron Ramsdale. What's the latest on Aaron Ramsdale? He will be leaving this summer. What's the latest?
Well, it's not 100% that he's going to leave yet.
God,
do you know? He's not. They
want 50 million from them, don't they?
Yeah, they're not letting him go easily.
Yeah,
they're not. They're saying to Aaron Ramsdale, look, okay, from what I know, I'm not 100%. I'm still. From what I'm being told, he still hasn't made up his mind. Whether he wants to leave or not. And he wanted to give him some time, but during that time, he's making his mind up. Arsenal put that big price tag on his head, right? So I think, and Arsenal don't want him to go, which is totally, I get that. There's nothing more than what Mikel Arteta would like than to have Raya as the 1 and Ramsdale as the 2.
But for the sake of Ramsdale's actual development, because he's still a young goalkeeper, he's got to go somewhere.
For that, that's like we're talking. That's a selfish reason, right? Yeah. But if he's a member of our family or something, you're telling him, look, you need to move on. But if I'm at Arsenal, if I'm looking at it from an Arsenal manager's point of view, I'm thinking 2
top goalkeepers in the one position.
Similar to that I've mentioned before. You look at Man City, they've had Edison and Ortega for years. Ortega comes in, there's no difference. Do you know what I mean? Even Alisson and Kelleher comes in. Liverpool fans were telling us last year that he had a better season than Alisson. Do you know what I mean? So it's people shouldn't be surprised if Arteta's sitting there thinking, yeah, look, you can go, Aaron, if that's what you want. But, you know, there might be a little bit of a slide dig by saying, well, you got to have 40 million if you do. Otherwise, you just stay in, mate. But I don't think Arsenal do that, you know, if they wanted. But saying that, you know, Arsenal, what did we pay for him? What was it we paid for Ramsdale?
Was it 30?
Yeah, so 40 million's fair for me.
Yeah. It was only season before last season that he was regarded as the most valuable keeper in the world.
Yeah, I mean,
Newcastle, not the height, but the most valuable, as in the money that Arsenal paid for him for the money that he's actually worth now. So yeah.
I mean, Newcastle screams out to me. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, it does. But who did they put a bid in for, or who were they linked to?
Oh, Trafford, wasn't it? Was it Trafford?
Yes, James Trafford. Which for me, that rings more true for a Newcastle.
Yeah. Hasn't he gone somewhere else now, though?
Has he, James? Did he?
I think maybe. Yeah, I think he has, because Burnley had gone down, hadn't they? I'm sure he went. You might correct me on that. I don't know.
Oh, no, look. Literally, 14 hours ago, Burnley accepted a 10 million transfer offer for Newcastle. What's this? Medical imminent. Burnley accept 10 million goalkeeper transfer after Newcastle terms agreed. There we go. So as I was saying, only yesterday Trafford's off to Newcastle, and it seems he was. When I heard that one, I was like, it would be that, because he's cheaper, and it just felt like more of a Newcastle signing.
Yeah, I don't see where. It's hard to think where he could go, because. Look, you look at Chelsea have got 3 goalkeepers, right? They're not going to buy another one. Do you know what I mean? So, and I've heard them.
Team with about 25 wingers, about 50% midfielders.
They did a centre back. They can play him as centre back or something. Maybe. You know, it wouldn't put it past Chelsea to do something like that. Well, but then you go a little bit lower. You think West Ham, maybe. You know, Fabianski and the Spanish goalkeeper? Is he Spanish? Aurelio.
Yeah.
You know, maybe, but Aurelio, you know, decent enough, isn't he? You know, you look at Wolves, possibly Wolves. You know, then maybe they could look for someone. Brighton, you know, I thought might be a shout, but I think they've got Verbruggen, haven't they? You know, the Dutch goalkeeper.
Did Brighton pay 50 million for players, let alone goalkeepers?
Yeah, this is it. Mate, I mean, I can't. It's very difficult. You know, maybe you'll go abroad, but
again, who can afford 50 million abroad? That's why I'm thinking potentially there could be a loan. That's the only way I'm thinking. Like, because if I'm Ramsdale and I really want to stay, I'm like, boss, loan me out for a season. I can't have another season on the bench. It ruins my development. I need game time. So yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one. But as you said, if Mikel Arteta is looking to have the best team, then you tell Ramsdale you're not going until someone pays 50 million for you. But if you're looking in the same way that we're looking to allow Smith Rowe to leave, it's okay. You can go if a bid comes in. You can go if you want, and maybe lower that fee. I don't know. It is a tough one, because you have that emotional connection with these players, don't you? Especially when Ramsdale came in at a time when it was that transition, when we were changing into that new team, and Ramsdale seemed like he was going to be a part of that. So it is a tough one, but look, David Raya came in and done well.
Yeah, I mean, there is Arsenal are interested in, or they have had sort of like talks with, you know, the representatives of, you know, Spanish keeper João Garcia.
Mm-hmm.
So there has been conversations going on there, but at the moment it's just conversations. You know what I mean? And that's all it is. Sort of like sanding them out. You know, if this happens, if that happens, would you be interested? Type of thing. And from what I know, Garcia would jump at the chance. So you would have 2 Spanish goalkeepers there, wouldn't you? You'd have Raya and Garcia, which you can see a little bit of sense into doing that. That makes sense. But yeah, it's got to be like really interesting to see what happens with Ramsdale. He may turn man in the end and think, look, I'm happy here. I love it here. I love the club. I love what to do. I want to win a championship medal, whether I'm, play cup games or not. And I don't know. I'd love him to stay. I would.
Yeah.
I'm being selfish here. Do you know what I mean? Because but yeah.
Any news on Eddie Nketiah?
No, again, it's gone quiet. I think that we know Crystal Palace are interested. We know they made a bid in January. Whether they're still interested now, I've not heard anything of late. Reece Nelson has been told that he can go. So he's if he wants to. So he's weighing up his options. He's another one who's thinking about what he wants to do. So yeah, I think like in the next couple of weeks, these players that are on the verge of leaving, there'll be a lot of news. So yeah, keep tuned into the show, people, because Arsenal's going to be a lot going on over the next few weeks.
Yeah, no, we'll be keeping an eye out for that. And finally, Arsenal reached an agreement for Ajax and England youth goalkeeper Tommy Stepford. A deal agreed for the youngster. Steve, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, 18-year-old goalkeeper. England. I think he's England under 23 international. He'll be coming in as Arsenal's number 3 keeper. So yeah, apparently by all accounts, a very good keeper. I think he signed until I think it was 2029. So it must be someone that's has been been looks at for a while, and he's got himself at 18 a big contract at one of the biggest clubs in the world. So he must be over the moon. So yeah, it'd be good to keep an eye out on him. As I say, I don't know too much else about him. I'm sure nobody does, but yeah, to give him a big contract like that, they must think a lot of him, mustn't they?
Yeah. Karl Heinz signed an extension on his contract, didn't he?
Yeah. Which is strange. I think that.
Okay. No, don't worry. Sorry, it was on the basis that they'd loan him out.
I just about to say that. Yeah. I think that was on the basis of either selling him or loaning him out.
Yeah.
So,
and I think they probably think they can get a little bit of money behind.
Exactly, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, because if you've seen, there was the news about Mikel Merino on his way to Stern Graz, 4 million. Is there any sell-on fee with that or anything like
that? No, I don't think. I'm not sure. I'm 100% sure on that. I haven't really kept a close eye on that deal. Actually, to be fair, I mean, it was something to come out of the blue. He came back, didn't he, from Sturm Graz, started training. There was talk and rumours that he was going to go out to the USA, and the next minute they've sold him to Sturm Graz. It was all done very quickly.
At least you've got a bit of money for one of the young players that come through the youth. Didn't pay a minute for us. We got 4 million for him. I think we need to start doing that more, generating a bit more money with some of these youths. You look at Manchester City. I think over the past however long they've gathered up over £300 million in transfer fees for players that have played no more than 20 games altogether for them. And I think that's probably the route that Arsenal need to go down. With us raising our levels in the league, other clubs will be looking at some of our youngsters as the ones that might not be able to get into the squad. Could they be good enough to get into our squad in the Championship or maybe even clubs that are coming up from the Premier League? You look at Norton Cuffy, who's been out on loan with, was it Lincoln, and last season it was with Millwall. 2 successful loans that he's had. And I'd expect a half decent fee for him, something in the region of 5 to 8, 9 million, because he's a Championship level player. He's seen that he can play He played League One, done well there. Played Championship, done well. What did Millwall? Where did Millwall coming in last season? I think they were pushing for playoffs. So it's not like he was at a club that was dwindling in the lower end of the table. He was going for a club that was looking to get into the Premier League. So he's of that. He's of that level. And I think we need to start raking in some money for these. The Charlie Patinos, a player who,
I think he's going, isn't he?
Yeah, a player who was very highly regarded in the youth level. Maybe it's worth selling them a little bit earlier. If you know,
keep them wary. I don't mean sell him. I mean keep him. Don't put him out on loan. Keep him at the club.
Maybe put him out on loan. Yeah, but there's a little bit of mystery that Man City players have. Yeah, where clubs are willing to take the risk on their players without knowing how good they are at men's football. So maybe it is a case of not loaning. Maybe it is a case of that 6-month loan. See if you can do it at that level for you as well. And then in the back of your mind, it's not a case of it's announced that he's going to be sold, or it's announced that he's going to be going in the summer. But you just keep that little bit of air of mystery and be a bit more astute with selling players. There's players out there that can generate some money for us. We got money for Joe Willock. We got money for Balogun, and good money for both. And I think we can continue to do that.
I mean, if like Smith Rowe, Dudley, we need to get. I mean, if we can get 40 million for Smith Rowe, 40 million for Ramsdale, 40 million for Nketiah. Yeah. I don't know, maybe 35 for whatever for Nielsen or something.
It's all profit.
That's big money. That's big money. That's big money.
Big money. It is.
Do you know what I mean? But it's sad to see him go because we've always. It's hard to think of the last time Arsenal without those players, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
You know, they've always seemed to be part of the furniture, don't they?
Yeah. But if they're not going to play, it's time to cash in and make some money off of some of these younger players.
Yeah.
We see the other ones coming through, and people may be a bit disillusioned with the fact that there's not many players coming through at the Arsenal, but
didn't we get 5 million for Raw Waters as well?
Yes. But he's gone to Luton, hasn't he?
Yeah.
But it's the levels at the end of the day. 2, 3, 4 years ago, these players may have got opportunities like Saka and Smith Rowe did. But now, where do they come in?
Yeah,
he's a player that's absolutely smashing it. And by all rights, anyone that's watched him, anyone that's seen him seen him quite a lot at youth level, they're even saying he's too good for under 21s now. So it's time for him to get some minutes in the cup games and more minutes at the end of the games. And he should be sitting on the bench every week and drop down into under 21s to just keep fit. Maybe it's similar for Lewis Skelly, or maybe it's time for him to go out on loan and see what he can do at maybe League One level. I'd love to see him at Charlton. One, I could get to watch him every other week. But two, it's a great club to blood.
I don't know why more players don't go to Charlton. They probably do from other clubs, but it's a club that, do you know what I mean? Is
a good record of sending players there. Oplan.
Yeah. You can see players like Nemweri there doing it. Mind you, he is a bit special, isn't he? Nemweri.
He's a bit special. He's one where maybe you actually just want to develop him at your club. But I think he's a centre midfielder. How much opportunity is he going to get?
Martin or something like that.
You know who? How much opportunity? Obi Martin. Maybe worth sending him out on loan to a foreign team, because he might be a bit too slight for the Championship and League One, but in the foreign league, you definitely get more game time.
You certainly learn a lot about a player when you do that, don't you?
Yeah, I think
you know what I mean. You do. You learn. You know, you can get to learn more about them. As I say, Nemweri is sort of a different case in question. We all know that this guy is like, special. You know, he's in that. He's got that mark as like a very special player, similar to like what Saka had when he was coming through. Do you know what I mean? He's get people talking about him in the same breaths. But as you said, the players that you started mentioning there, I have to get them out on loan. You know, get them out of loan, get them into the Charltons. You know, get them into places like this if they can.
Yeah.
And it's important to pick out the good clubs. Do you know what I mean? It's just some it'll work out for and some it won't. One it didn't work out for was Charlie Patino. It just never really got off for him, did he? He looked fantastic at Arsenal level, youth level. It was like, wow, this kid's going to be the next Cesc Fabregas. But he went out to Swansea, Blackpool, I think, and he was all right, but he never really sort of went up any more levels, which is sad. But that's what you need to know, don't you? You need to, get the answers on whether these players are good enough to, be part of Arsenal going forward. So
no, I agree. That is all we have time for. Make sure you come and join us every single Tuesday for the Arsenal show. We've got plenty to discuss. There's plenty of transfer news happening, rumours every single day of the week. So the least we can do is shut those rumours down. Make sure you go on Twitter and go and follow the Transfer Exchange show and Steve K as well for all the latest transfer news. Thank you very much who's joined us in the comment section tonight. Loads of people joining in. Appreciate your support. If you did join in to get some news on any of your other clubs, I did see Fulham in there from Charles. Come and join us on Monday night. We're going to have Jack Talbot. We're going to have Steve on there. We're going to do some player profiles as well. For anyone that's not too sure about players that are being linked with their clubs, we're going to have someone give us the latest on what type of player that is as well. So make sure you join us every Monday at 8 o'clock as well. If you haven't pressed subscribe right now, why?
Yeah.
That's why. Just press the button. It's free.
If you love your mum,
it's charged.
if you like your family,
if you like your mum, press subscribe.
Yeah.
There we go.
That's good. There's a comment just come in from Joshua there. And they just popped up. Thanks for the comment, Joshua.
Why can't Arsenal try Timber at defensive midfield? I
don't know.
I feel like the style of play that he has, having him as a left back or a right back, it allows us to have an additional central midfielder when we've got the ball, we're breaking out of attack. So
he can go in that position anyway, can't he?
Yeah, it goes. In fact, if you've watched when I've watched Timber play for Arsenal, immediately as soon as we get the ball, he's in that central midfield role. He doesn't even sit at left back. He moves into the central midfield role, and we move into a free. And it makes sense when you've got Ben White at right back, you've got Saliba, and you've got Gabriel. That's a perfect free to fit the slot in, and it's a nice, easy transition as well. All right. Thank you for the
comment.
Thank you for the comment. Josiah. 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 And I know that because that's actually my mum's maiden name is Josiah, and they used to call her Joshua as well.
See, well, that's worth a like, isn't it? That's
it is worth a like. Maybe it's worth a subscribe, Josiah. Josiah.
Definitely.
Got it wrong again. Oh my gosh.
Click on, put those notifications on, and you'll be first to know all the Arsenal news as well.
Exactly. Thank you for joining us tonight, Steve.
Pleasure, mate. Enjoyed it. Thank you.
All right. Hit that like and subscribe, people. Peace out. Stay safe. And wash your hands.